Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cryptic TMG back with a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the future of LMU and when will these GT3's, the new GT3's, be added to the game, and why I believe the time is now for those to be introduced. Anyway guys, let's get stuck deeper into the video and leave a like and a comment down below if you want to share your opinions and your thoughts. So for me right now, LMU is in a great spot. I believe the game has just been kind of on a tear at the moment. A lot of people saying that it's sort of the best simulator for racing, it's the best GT3 sim, and for me personally, it is my favorite sim. It's the sim that I feel more connected to than any other sim at the moment. I feel like they're doing a lot of things correct, but what I will say is I believe they kind of need to, introduce that variation of cars in the GT3 class, which of course is, to my knowledge, always the most important class. Even though the WEC, the hypercars are sort of the premier class, it always feels like more people are interested in the GT3s. So that's what I'm going to focus on at the moment. And I just think with how it is at the moment, as you can see in this race in particular, pretty much 9 times out of 10, the majority of the field are going to be in the BMW. You're going to get a few McLarens because obviously the McLaren is pretty quick as well. And you'll get a sprinkle of Ferraris. You'll almost see no Corvettes at any time. And, that is one of the problems where there's just not a lot of variation in car choice at the moment. A lot of the cars that have not been brought into the game yet are the cars that people would probably be more looking forward to driving, like the Porsche or the Aston. Those are sort of the kind of cars that most people, will probably lean towards, the more exciting cars, shall we say. By not having them in the game yet, kind of missing the trick. Look, I know that they've got a plan, they've got a roadmap, but I feel like what's the delay at the moment? Right now, when you watch any of the broadcasts for Le Mans Ultimate, it looks absolutely amazing. By far the best broadcast you'll get to see. If you guys haven't watched the Virtual Motorsport series yet as well, go and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Trust me, the racing is insane. The quality of the races is great. Commentary, everything. It just looks so professional. But my thing is, in the GT3 class, particularly in fixed setups, daily races, you are not going to get a lot of variation because, let's be honest, a lot of the default setups in the other cars, apart from the BMW, maybe the McLaren, a lot of the default setups are just not very good. And maybe as a community we can come together and start building some default setups for the other cars to make them a little bit more, able to race the BMW and the McLaren. I just feel like with the Ferrari, the Corvette, they're a little bit more on the sketchy side, so definitely more of a high skilled car. But when you're running fixed races in this default setup, people have no reason to realistically choose those cars unless it's extremely track specific, like, I don't know, like a Brazil for the Corvette, or maybe like a Spa for the Ferrari. Even so, Spa's still pretty edgy. You still got to be pretty good to actually do the job in a Ferrari around Spa. So I believe right about now is the perfect time to introduce the newer cars. Make sure we get these default setups right, and as I said, as a community, I believe some of the faster guys or whatever could probably build default setups that are a lot closer to what we have for the BMW and the McLaren, because right now, to me, sometimes it feels like there's no actual point in driving anything else. Like I've tried the Corvette around Portimao, for instance, and the last corner, the difference in speed between the BMW and the Corvette, it's like a different class. The Corvette, you have to lift. Even if you put your traction slip to 0 and try and get around that corner, try and take some curb on the inside to help it drag your car around the last corner, you literally lose 3 to 4 tenths every single time of that fail, as the BMW is easily flat. And it kind of makes it unraceable, and that's not what we want. We want variation in the field. We want it to look just how it looks in the real world. We want to see all the cars battling and be able to compete for wins in whatever car you choose. And obviously, I know, coming from ACC, BOP is a sore subject, and it is always extremely difficult to get the cars close together. But man, like in this race, for instance, I think top 5 just all BMWs. And then once you get into these sort of races, it's pretty hard to overtake somebody who's in the same car as you as well. And you can see that most of the field is BMWs. You get a sprinkle of a Ferrari here and there, but you won't see a Corvette anywhere. Literally, no one's touching that car. And it's a shame because, you know, it's an iconic car. So I just believe that, you know, we need to start hopefully getting an introduction into the newer cars, man, because for me it is definitely needed. I feel like for external championships, or people want to run championships, like say AO1 wanted to create a championship, I know RCI have a championship, VMS, I just feel people will be more engrossed when there is, you know, a lot more manufacturers involved. And I don't really get the delay, because it's like we're still waiting for the full WEC experience. But a lot of us are, you know, we're paying customers, we're paying for the race control and stuff like that, you know, we're paying our subscription. So I just feel like, you know, there's, you know, why the delay, you know, why the delay? It just, I don't know. I know obviously in the background I'm sure they're working on things and big things for the future, but GT3 to me, like on the game itself, like the racing and everything, great, but I feel like GT3 at the moment, it kind of gets stale, because you kind of know the limitations of each car. We've done each track to death now, so it's like, you know for a fact, if you're going to Portimao or if you're going to Brazil, for instance, you know what cars are worth picking. You know, if you go to Brazil, that it's probably not best to choose the BMW because it's not that great around there, even though on the majority of tracks it is one of the fastest or the fastest. But if you're going to tracks like Portimao, you're just never going to touch the Corvette. If you're going to the Le Mans circuit, you're just never going to touch the Corvette. Anything with a really long straight, you're probably just going to leave the Corvette and not even bother, you know. And that's kind of the issue, you know. As I said, you might get a few people in the Ferrari, but for the most part, people are just going to pick the BMW because of how comfortable it is. Now, can these cars get closer together in lap times? They can, but the default setups have to be so much better to where you can actually push the car without it killing you. And unfortunately for me driving the Corvette, I know firsthand that the way to be fast in the Corvette, the car kind of has to be on the edge a little bit, and that's just the way how it is. So for most people, they're not going to be able to get the lap time out of it. Now, I used the Corvette since the last update where they changed the default setup, and yes, it's more stable, but it's definitely slower because, you know, in the nimble corners and the fast corners, the Corvette no longer has that speed because it's just a lot more understeering. And that's the thing, you know, making certain cars safe makes them slow. So I kind of feel like we just need that variation, more cars to pick from, more variety on the grid, and it just looks better. You know, it looks better than just having 4 cars. And from the 4 cars we do have, you know, 1, sometimes 2 of them, no one will even bother use because it's just, you know, you're fighting a losing battle. And particularly when you're doing it for safety rating, driver ranking points or whatever, you're just not going to take the risk on driving something else, you know. And unfortunately, that's just how it is at the moment. But I do believe once these new GT3s come, I believe the game's going to get another big boost or another big influx of players. And the time is now, you know. Let's not get distracted by it. Let's set a course at Evo and all these other games that are out here trying to have updates, like Auto Ballista, they had their update not too long ago and stuff like that. Le Mans had a chance to actually grab a hold of the market right now, and I don't feel like delaying stuff is gonna necessarily help. We need to see more leagues doing LMU, and you're gonna get that once you have the variety in car, you know. So that's what I want to see, man. Hopefully it's something that they think about. Hopefully it's something that they do. I don't just want to be racing BMWs, and I don't want to feel like, oh, I have to choose the BMW, because the other car's default setups are just not that great, or for other people, like I have to choose the McLaren because, you know, like it's just kind of, it to me it'll be in danger of getting boring very, very quickly, and it doesn't need to be. We've got a Lambo to expect, we've got a Porsche to expect, a Mustang, a Lexus. What did I miss out? I think I said Aston, right? We got all these other cars to expect, so you know, once those cars do land, there's going to be so much more variety. And when you think about it, they only brought out 4 GT3's, there were 9 in total. So even if they drop one and then wait another couple of months or whatever, even if they do something like that, you know, let's start getting these other cars in there now, man, because I don't know, for me personally, I'm not saying the racing's getting boring, but just the choices are kind of stale now, particularly when you've gone over every single track a couple of times now. Kind of just know what to expect pretty much, so you never ever really get any variety because you know exactly what to expect. And obviously if they're not going to change all of the default setups and bring the other cars into play more, then it's just going to be the same old, and that's what, you know, that's what I think is important to avoid, is just getting so used to it being the one dominant car that everyone uses, you know, because for me, that is what makes things boring. For instance, I'll give you an example. Like on LFM, if it was certain times on LFM for ACC, if you was to get a certain track where one car was just seems to be so strong, it kind of just puts you off doing that whole track for the week, unless you're gonna, like for instance, like the Mustang around Red Bull Ring for a week. It was so fast. It was like, bro, there's literally no point in picking anything else because the Mustang's just a beast. And like, if you are someone who maybe enjoys driving like an Audi or something like that, there's just no point turning up for the whole week, because you know that the Mustang was just so much faster than anything else that if you want to drive anything apart from a Mustang, then literally you're just losing driver rating because, you know, the cars are just not equally balanced, or, you know. But at least with that, you do have setup to change that, where a lot of the time when we're racing fixed, you can't do anything. You're literally just stuck. And that's the point where I feel like things can get stale very quickly. So hopefully they do something about it, man. I would like to see some more cars introduced within the next couple of weeks. With early February, why not? But anyway, guys, it's Cryptic TNG. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and peace.